Welcome to today's webinar. What we normally do when we get this stuff started is we just play a quick video for you guys. So while people are getting settled in and logging in, we're not talking over them. In the meantime, you are welcome to put in any question that you want into the chat box. What we just ask is it's as specific as possible. It could be about any area of life that you want us to investigate with you, give you some coaching and feedback on. So we are going to just play you a quick video of some of our client students, people who follow us, talking about different experiences that they've had working with us. That'll take about 4 or 5 minutes. Then we'll come back here and
let them know about the questions while they're doing that. So if they have questions, they can just pop them in there.
Yeah. Again, if you have any questions, put them in the chat box. I'll put a little prompt up there as well, but feel free to start doing that now.
We'll kick this guys off in like 4 minutes.
Yep.
So you knew I was like really struggling with signing up for this. And part of my big dilemma with signing up was like letting go of the financial aspect. Yeah. The day that I signed up, I shit you not, my boss calls me up and he's like, Mike, he's like, I know you're like really picking up the slack. I just want to let you know that we're going to give you a $5,000 bonus. So then I get my tax returns back from my accountant and I owe like $7,000 less than I was planning on owing. So like right there, 12 grand that like I just not planning on.
This little pebble started down the hill. Mine's gone on over the last 5 weeks. It has just built momentum, speed, and size. And I'm at this point now where I'm just like I'm happy. And I tell you, man, I appreciate you guys. And you know, it's this has been huge. I mean, I'm like 2.0. You know, yeah. That's the exciting thing. I am completely just at ease. You know, I wake up in the morning with zero anxiety now. It was like a line snapped, you know, like this claw that had me just sort of like went like, it's all good, dude. You can go now. I'm in a crazy good place right now, guys. Yeah, talk about night and day from when we met, and the fact that I can smile legitimately like all flipping day right now with no need to generate it or put it on like it's a mask. And I wake up every day thankful that, you know, I found you guys and that, you know, these things are happening to me and happening for me is a better way to put it.
Something that you've taught me has really changed the relationship between me and my children. You suggested that we change 2 words, and they were the words have to get to. So instead of saying, I have to cook dinner for my kids, or I have to play with them, or I have to take them to school, or now I have to put them to bed, I have followed your advice and changed those words from have to get to. And all of a sudden, my little human brain changes the entire energy around that task from something that feels like a chore to something that feels like a privilege. And it has actually changed the relationship with me and my kids, because not everything feels like such hard work anymore. I love them to bits, and thank you so much, Alam, for making my relationship with my children so much better.
I guess I'm going to say some pretty spectacular things here, and I just want you to know that from the bottom of my heart, these are very true statements. I was at a place in my life where I hit all my financial goals. I bought the toys that I felt like I needed, and quickly realized that I still wasn't happy. And it's at that point I decided to kind of look within and figure out why that was. I can say without a doubt, their program has totally altered my direction. It's given me a renewed sense of purpose, and overall I'm happier. I'm not as reactive to unfortunate events. I'm able to see things a lot clearer, and that's not to say that I didn't have my road bumps or my setbacks throughout the past year, but I'm able to see it in a whole different light, and that's pretty amazing stuff to say out loud, and it's 100% true. And obviously it was a lot of work on my part, but I owe quite a bit to my current circumstances, to Guy and Elon, both professionally and personally. These guys are amazing. They've got a ton of training under their belt, and without a doubt, jump in with both feet. I can't tell you how much benefit you'll get sitting in my chair here a year from now. So
I hadn't spoken to my brother, my younger brother, 2 years younger than me, for 10 years. Some stupid incident in our family, and I hadn't spoken to him for 10 years. I missed his wedding and everything. It got me to realise that I should take 100% responsibility for the situation, and I did. I went on to my brother, and I spoke to him, took responsibility. We now have an amazing relationship. We are brothers. It means that's huge, absolutely huge. I wouldn't have had that in my life at all if it wasn't for going along.
Because of you guys, my success and where I'm at today, I am forever grateful and thankful for you guys and the things that you've done. Teaching me how to reprogram my mind, how to reprogram the negative to a positive, changing my mindset, understanding that some of my own limiting beliefs that were holding me back for a long time, from a year ago to a guy being in jail. The things that you do are powerful. I want you to know, from one brother to another, it forever changed my life. It's people like you that make this world a better place, man. And I just wanted you to know I'm thankful. My kids are going to be better because I know that I've always got to keep working on myself to become the best person I possibly can. And I'm at that point where I'm the best version of myself. I'm forever thankful, guys. Peace and love, man.
Boom.
Boom. I love that one. That last one gets me every time.
I think we say that every time, that it gets me every time, because it's an emotional thing. Yeah.
Dear Steve, it's funny because I talk to him quite often, and after that video, he went through some incredible things.
Yeah.
But he sends me messages all the time of like, what a gift having this work in his life has been. I can't share his story, but he's gone through just incredible things.
Difficulties.
Difficult things that most human beings will never have to go through.
Yeah.
And he basically told me, he's like, he wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for doing stuff. So I just want to start today. I've said this, I think maybe once or twice on one of these, but I think if you, Satori Prime has a funny way of finding you in your life at certain times. I don't believe in accidents, and I believe that many of you have cool stories of how, maybe our podcast or an article or a video or something came into your life at the perfect time. I know because I've spoken to a lot of you. And the one thing that I will say is this. This is a place, a safe place, a home, if you will, that you can come to up-level areas of your life and to get deep, powerful, transformational healing. We are not about understanding. We are not about labeling. We don't do any of that mindset stuff that you see out there. We have access to it. It's just not what we have found to be incredibly useful. We're not people who tell you what to do. We don't act as a crutch. We are a coach, and a good coach, we believe, is someone that will always show you where to look internally. You have the answers inside of you that you are most wanting. Our job, as we see it, is to help guide you so that your intuition is enhanced and your guidance system is enhanced, so that you can start living your own best life without having to get that from other people. Because here's the bottom line. Steve, who you saw at the end, his life has dealt him some things. And I'm sure every one of you, your life has dealt you some things. And if you're here under the delusion that at some point you're going to get yourself to this place where life is going to stop dealing you some things, then I hate to bust your bubble, but that ain't happening. Life is going to keep happening, right? Have you ever reached a point in your life where life hasn't happened? It's going to continue to happen. What will create the biggest shift in your life is who you be about the things that happen. Can you switch from life is happening to me to life is happening for me? Can you start to see the beauty and the lessons and the opportunities in the difficult moments, in the struggles, in the challenges, as a way of life pulling you forward to your greatest self?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're all about here. And it's not just about, I want to break through in finances. Great. What about your family? Or it's not just a breakthrough in relationships. Like, what about your health or spirituality or your wealth? Like, it's about all of it for us. So it doesn't matter which door you choose to use to open that gets you into this world. I promise you that opening that door and creating that healing in that area will trickle down to every single other area. So today we're going to give you an insight into what it's like to live a very, very different life. And we're going to do our best to give you everything we got. We hold nothing back on these. There's people in here right now who have paid us thousands of dollars and been in our programs and still show up to these calls because they get so much value out of it. There's people on here that I know have been here many, many times before, and you guys keep coming back, which is awesome. So, I guess we're doing a pretty good job. And ultimately, here's what I want to offer you. Like, today is going to be, at best, a scratching of the surface of what we can offer you. Okay, so what we're going to do today is give you like a taste, an amuse-bouche, if you will. What did he just say?
Followed by an aperitif.
It's that little bite of food that they give you for free from the chef, like compliments of the chef. So that's going to be today, compliments of the chef. And then at some point, we're going to offer, if this resonates with you and you want to see how this can impact you on a more personal level, we're going to offer you to get on the phone with myself, and I will actually do a session with you. Just something to keep in mind, like these sessions that we're going to offer you are sessions that we would normally charge $1,500 for. And we're going to give you an opportunity to get that for basically $99 later. So stick around and hear about that. And then let's jump into the questions and we'll go from there.
Cool.
You want to fire off the first one?
Yeah, I will. Let me just broadcast it in the room. And guys, feel free to keep the questions coming because we'll go as long as we have things to talk about here. So George, I think this is his third time with us. And George, thanks for coming back and always participating.
George and I have actually had one of those conversations as well. So
yeah. He says, hey guys, as I continue my journey with your body scan meditation, and by the way, anybody's free to go download that meditation on our website. Just go to satoriprime.com/meditate. I was going to say meditation because I'm reading meditation. I find my heart warming up a bit and wanting to be more with people of all kinds, which is great. I also find myself bemoaning the fact that I have a huge wall of fear between who I am currently and who I want to be. For instance, my little sister is 10 times more courageous than me, and I wish I could do her proud by matching her strength. I know that this is going to take some actual action, but in your experience, would you say that the meditation would help in any way? I'm really pining to be more than who I am right now. Thanks. Got it. Yeah, doesn't get more human than that, man. So George, look, I mean, whether you get this mentally or not, I mean, to answer your question short, yeah. Look, meditation for me, specifically the one that we teach with the body scans and with feeling subtle energy, is going to help. Here's what I want to remind you, is that the body has its own time for everything, and that the mind has a totally separate time. The mind is addicted to results yesterday. Mark has a question here too, right? So it's like you can see he's playing kind of like this really mental game, and the energetics isn't changing, so the results aren't changing. And to be honest, like Elon said, life keeps coming at you, right? There's some beautiful things, some really challenging things. The shifts that we see with students, like what we do now is like, we do some mindset development work. I believe in that. For a lot of people, that'll get them to a completely different level, different vantage point in how they view life. And that's just part of upgrading consciousness. The next part is really the subconscious piece of you, which is not just relegated to your mind, but is also relegated to the way that your body responds energetically to things. And it has been doing that for a really, really long time. Now, I don't care if you read every book on planet Earth or you understand how the mind works psychologically. If you've ever met a psychologist or their kids, you will know that they're the ones usually struggling. Yeah, like every psychologist I've ever met has the most challenging children that I have ever met, right? So there's just something about that energy field and maybe the perspective on which they're taking on. But my point is, it doesn't help them energetically change the way that they are. This happens incrementally. Can it happen as a quantum leap? Absolutely. But here's what I'll tell you. There are some things in your body that are ready to release right now. Like if we worked on them, it'd be good to go. Like that's it. We would do work and you would suddenly see yourself feeling and acting very differently because the energetics would shift. And honestly, you just wouldn't have the same sensory input from your environment that you used to have. And because of that, you'll feel different. You'll have different actions and different results because of it. There are some things that have been going on in your life that are so entwined with your identity and who you are that the mere thought or feeling of letting those things go creates such distress in the system that the system will fight for it until it gets some new information, which honestly, George, happens, which is why, like, yes, the meditation is fantastic and helps you really start investigating that work. And look, you're noticing that difference. I'm noticing warmth in my heart. That's incredible, George. Like,
which I will just point out because I've spoken to George. George, can you just take a moment and honor the fact that when we spoke, there was nothing. Like you had no access whatsoever to your system. And I want to say that we spoke maybe about a month ago.
Yeah.
So just
that's a big, right?
That.
Right, George. So like just to begin with the acknowledgement of like, it's not, hey, I'm not where I want to be. It's like, I'm perfect where I am, right? Like this is exactly what I think we'll find that the theme of today will be. It's like, why do people go to astrologists? Why do people go to clairvoyant people and get all these readings done and try to get all these answers about things? And I've done those things too. And I could tell you when I walk out of there, I don't walk out of there going like, oh my God, that completely changed my life. I have all this new information I know how to access now. What I leave there with is kind of like that scene from The Matrix. If you remember when Neo goes to see the Oracle for the first time and he's about to tell Morpheus that he's not the one. And Morpheus is like, whatever she told you was for you and you alone. And it was just what you needed to hear. And he kind of gets that lesson throughout the series that it's like, she didn't give him the answer. She told him what he needed to hear at that time so that he became more certain that he's on the right path for him. And for me, when I go to, and I think people come to Elon and myself, like what you want is reflection from somebody, honestly, to just tell you, you're doing great. You're exactly where you need to be. Keep walking the path. So I'm kind of going to tell you that too. It's like, first of all, appreciate whatever headway you've made. Your body has this divine intelligence. October 2nd was when you talked to him. So 28 days. Your body.
If you come to think of it from that place.
Yeah. You hear us preaching over and over again. Your body has this divine intelligence. And if you start working against that divine intelligence, what you're going to find is that you're starting to put either too much importance on your external game or you're starting to put too much importance on your internal game. And to be honest, what I have found over the years is this actually hurts people. This actually really hurts people. So a few things here. Number one is appreciating where you are. Number two is not comparing yourself to anybody else. Because just like you're on your path, your sister's on her path. And maybe her path is to show up extremely courageous and to exude those qualities. It may be that if you asked your sister whether she feels courageous, she'd be like, no, I don't feel that way at all. Like you really don't know what her experience is. And yet you sit kind of devaluing yourself thinking, well, if I was only more like her, then I would be like more valuable person, or I'd be a valuable person, or, that's a thing. And honestly, whether it comes to business, to family, to health, the number one killer to joy is comparison to where other people are. The only thing that I think is worth comparing yourself to is who you were yesterday to who you are today. Everything else is pretty much conjecture. So to me, George, it's like, yes, stay on the path. But the last thing I wanted to tell you about, even if you have the meditation, like why does somebody want to work with people like Elon and myself? Well, you got a taste of it, right? Elon can track your system. He can tell you kind of like where the collapses are and stuff like this. The other part is that there's three things when you meditate, particularly the type of meditation that we do that we look for, is that the person becomes aware of energetic support, because most of us feel like we're on islands all alone doing everything, right? The second part is that we actually feel safe. which most of us have never even considered or felt into what it's like to feel safe, because most people are acting out of the fight or flight response 99 times out of 100 times, if not more, right? So that, and the last part is actually being aware of an energetic connection between two physical entities while we feel safe and while we're going through our process, so that the body, that part of us, the energetic body and the body, receive information that when you go through that process, you don't actually lose connection with another person, because that's one of our greatest fears, is that we'll be all alone. Nobody will be there to support us or help us or be connected with us. And we seek for safety, well-being, and connection in everything that we do. So the medicine for people that oftentimes heals the system is the connection between two people while in a relaxed state. And this is kind of the stuff that we work with our personal clients on, so that they can get these new maps and new information in their system. And like I said, look, you are where you are, right, on your journey. I think, again, just keep focusing on, okay, I'm going to keep focusing on doing this work. I'm totally okay with any forward momentum, whether big or small right now, because that's what's available to me at this time. And here's the thing, like, whether, and I want to talk about Mark's thing too, like more, but whether you're making like massive headway or just little incremental steps, that's the reality of life. Sometimes you move a lot, sometimes you move a little. I think the moment you start efforting too much is where people actually don't make any headway at all.
Yeah, I'll just remind you guys of a couple of very amazing words to live by: patience and grace. Patience and grace. This work, when you start doing the internal work, right? Everyone, I'm sure you've all read books and said the only way out is in, or the only way out is through. I think this type of work that we do, and George, I know that you experienced it. We did some meditations, and I know you're doing the meditation on your own as well. It allows you to start doing that deep, deep inner work. And what's really beautiful is when you find love and acceptance for the parts inside, when you can bring patience and grace to the parts inside, then guess what? You now have the ability to do that for others. You cannot give to others what you don't have internally for yourself. Wayne Dyer used to have this amazing analogy where he said, if you're an orange and I squeeze you, it doesn't matter what tool I use, it doesn't matter what device, there's no amount of money and device that you can use that will get anything other than orange juice when squeezing an orange. You can't get pineapple juice from that. And so when you squeeze, right, what happens to you? If you're someone that gets anxious or stressed or overwhelmed or angry, then guess what? That is what you are literally pouring into so to Mark's question, right? Like, and we'll go into this in more detail, but like, if Mark has doubt, for example, as he's building this business, or, he's creating content and there's agenda behind it, that's the squeezing. Now that goes into a cup, a proverbial cup, which goes out into the world that we live in. And then you're like, hey, drink this. Now, when someone drinks it, they're like, oh, that doesn't taste good at all. That tastes like needy, or that tastes angry, or that tastes frustrated, or that tastes sad, or whatever the heck it is, and they don't want it. So going back to George, like, what you're starting to practice right now is to give yourself that self-love, to give yourself that patience, acceptance, grace. And I'll tell you, if you guys find yourself contrasting yourself to anybody else, comparing yourself to anybody else, you are on the bad bus, taking you to a no good spot. Nothing ever good comes from comparison, ever. I got this ring recently called the Oura Ring, which tracks all sorts of things like sleep and blah, blah, blah. But one of the things that's really important to me and interesting was tracking HRV, which is heart rate variability. And so I was reading things and like how it tracks it and what to look for and blah, blah, blah. And one of the things that they kept repeating time and time again, which I thought was really funny, is do not compare your HRV to other people's. Like, and it was just like, blah, 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 HRV is this, is this. And then like big bold letters, do not compare your HRV to other people. And they said it like 3 or 4 times. And I was laughing to myself, because the one thing you do as soon as you measure everything is what?
Start comparing.
What's your HRV?
Yeah.
What's your resting heart rate? What's this? Right. And like, HRV is one of those things that is solely based on your system. You're looking for your baseline and you're looking for your variability of the baseline. Comparing your numbers to other people doesn't make any difference. So I just thought that was really funny.
Well, I want to just add one more thing here. What Elon said. So the comparison can be a really wonderful tool, right? Because like to say stop comparing, that's like saying stop the mind from thinking, right? It's going to do that anyway. So what we want to look at all times is not how to change the energy, right? You want to think about how to leverage the energy. So think about like a stream, right? We're in a flow of energy, just like you would be in a stream in a river. There's kind of 3 ways to be in the river. It's to turn around and say, I don't want to go where the river is going. Grab yourself a boat or start swimming. And like, you can only do that for so long before you just like, go like, oh, I'm too tired, you know? So the flow is always going to win. There's always more energy out there than you, right? The second one is like being a complete pacifist, which is like, all right, I give up. I'm totally apathetic. Just take me where you go. But then as you go down the river, like there's rocks and stuff, you know, and then there's like the edge of the river and it's going to like batter you this way and that way. You're going to get to the waterfall. It's going to hurt. The third way is to like lay in the river, enjoy, but like use the momentum of the river and make slight but very deliberate motions to just move you in the easiest path possible. Spirituality to me, like learning how to be spiritual, is like that third path. Now, the funny thing is you're going to do the other 2 first. You're going to, you know, before you start spirituality, is just swimming. You get freaking exhausted. Your health goes to shit. Your relationships are terrible, right? Like everything's in disarray and you're like, all right, well, this isn't working. Let me just turn around and be a pacifist. And you find out that actually feels better, but you're still getting all these bumps and bruises along the way, which kind of hurt. And then you kind of like find your way to this middle ground, which is, okay, let me lay here, but like be really present with the river and kind of like move myself around the obstacles, so to speak. So, you know, in the flow of the river, there's this thing called comparison. There's this thing called judgments, things that the mind's going to continue to do no matter what you want. So what you want to think about is, well, how do I make these deliberate motions with it so that I can leverage the energy versus always being like, oh, I'm such a bad person. I compared myself again, right? Which again makes you swim up the river. So look, what can you do with comparison? Well, what you can get about comparison is that you're looking outside yourself. You're making something outside of yourself important, right? So that isn't working for you. So then you start looking inside, and what you find is that whatever you compared yourself to, there is an internal judgment that you're either too much of that or not enough of that. Okay? And then from there, there's actually an energetic collapse of some kind that happens down the center meridian channel. So if you deal with the external, like, oh, I need to be as strong as my sister, right? Like George says, like, okay, well, that's a really confusing thing for the brain, because the brain's like, well, how do I do that? How do I get more strong? Like, do I need a hard event in my life to show up right now so that I can prove my strength? Because that would suck. You know, maybe that event is like you losing all your money. Maybe that event is some health concern that you might have, but you call that into your life because you're like, hey, I got to prove that I'm strong. And the world is like, okay, let's prove that you're strong. It will do that, right? It's gonna connect to the energy within your body. Or you can start looking that there is some kind of judgment inside of not enough or too much of something. And that what you want to do is you actually want to get intimate with the sensation that brings into the body. And when you start feeling through, what you're going to find is that as you start feeling through, and there's a very direct way that we work with people to do this, is that you bring safety to the system. When the energy moves and metabolizes through the system, we'll talk more about that too, how the body metabolizes energy. When it metabolizes through the system, the body naturally reorganizes around energy that moves, right? So if something is stuck in place, then it moves, like the body is going to reorganize around the space that's being created. That creates new maps, that creates, again, new energy, new things that come into your life, new actions that you want to take, way more fluid. And then you start finding that you're taking action from a place of safety. You're taking action from a place of well-being. You're taking action not from scarcity and fear, but from alignment, which is a really beautiful and incredible thing. So, you know, we want to keep pointing at these things for you guys, because there's nothing wrong with judgment and there's nothing wrong with comparison. In fact, when you do it, just let it be there. Be like, oh shit, I'm judging. Don't do anything about that. Just notice that you're judging. Yeah. Because like trying to do something about the management of the system that's judging will actually bring more judgments. Starting to manage the system that's comparing will just bring more comparisons. You're just putting more energy into it, so you get more energy back.
Yeah. All All right. Do we want to jump to Mark's question because we kind of like danced around it a bit?
No, let's, because I feel like there's a theme. I saw Erica's question is kind of a theme too, so let's do Rebecca's.
Okay. Balance is where my question lies today. I've recently started taking steps to become fully self-sufficient. So I'm looking at multiple income streams which are requiring a lot of foundational work. While I'm still working to earn money through the dog walks that I do, my challenge right now is balance and trying to make sure that I do a little of what I need to do each day in order to avoid focusing purely on work through fear, which is an old habit that has caused me many issues. Things like tapping into my inner self, being creative, reading. There have been days where all I've wanted to do at the end of the day was sit, watch Stranger Things, and go to sleep. I've allowed for that. I'm enjoying my life and the work that I do, and I'm excited to see these income streams get set up and start working. Right now, I feel that I've taken on too much all at once, and I wanted to know if there are ways that a person can get multiple income streams set up well without hitting overwhelm. You want to go for it?
No, you go ahead.
No, you cannot. You cannot set up one income stream without reaching overwhelm. I'm going to share with you something that I've been sharing with my kids quite a bit. So my son Shia is in 3rd grade. My daughter's in 1st grade. They have a naturally very different way of approaching things. My son, for example, loves getting challenged. He loves practicing. He loves like ongoingly practicing and mastering and all that stuff. When he was really young, that was not the case. He would start something, he would just get really upset and frustrated, and he would just kind of quit. My daughter now is at this place where she'll try something for literally 1 second, 2 seconds, and like gets really frustrated, throws her hands up in the air and stops. So something that I share with them that I think is true for every one of us is this question. Have you ever done anything new in your life? And I mean anything, ever, that you haven't felt like a complete idiot or overwhelmed or confused when you first started? The answer is no. You've never had that experience. It doesn't matter whether it was writing or reading or riding a bike or playing a sport or working out or cooking or whatever the million other things that you've learned throughout your life. I don't know that you remember this, but tying your shoelaces was a big fucking pain in the ass when you were a kid trying to figure out. Now, like, you don't even think about it. Brushing your teeth, for crying out loud, is like a skill that, you know, we all take for granted, but pain in the ass when you first start to try to understand, like, I got to get all these things, right? So you're always going to be met with overwhelm and confusion, and you're always going to feel like an idiot, and it's always going to trigger the parts of you that, for me, for example, I'm a loser, right? So like that was the thing that always got triggered. Now, if I buy into that part of me that feels like it's a loser, then in the real world action is I'm not even going to bother. Right? Like if I'm not good at something, that means that it's about to trigger my loser piece. And then I'm like, I'm not going to do it. So Rebecca, basically, if we're playing this game, and this is for all of you guys, if you're playing this game, and especially if you're going to play this game on our field, right, like the Satori Prime field, practice field, then what's going to happen is you're going to get to your edges. And then once you get to that edge, you're going to have confidence and safety in the system to push past the edge. Where now you get to the edge and there's resistance and you bounce back, you're going to have the ability to walk through that. And whatever that discomfort is, you're going to find comfort in the discomfort and you're going to push that edge out. Now, guess what comes after you meet your edge and you step out? You feel amazing, right? Because you've created new capabilities, new abilities, that creates new confidence, allows you to live bigger. And when you live bigger, what do? You go seeking that next edge. And it's not really hard to find because life will always provide you with what your edges are. If you notice, like this is the challenges, right? Whether it's in relationships or health or finances, the edges never seem to stop coming. And that's the game. Getting to the edge, finding safety where it hasn't felt safe before, walking through that edge, and then experiencing a whole new life on the other side of that edge. The life that you guys have seen these memes all the time. The life that you want is not inside the box that you're in right now. And no amount of understanding and no amount of reading and no amount of aha moments is going to get you through that edge. Getting through that edge is an experience. It's like you got to get on the court. You can't watch videos about being on the court and think that it's being on the court. That's not on the court. That's watching videos about being on the court. Big difference. So for you, Rebecca, yeah, it's going to be overwhelming. What I would offer you is if it feels like too much, then you get to tune in and from an aligned place, actually check and see, does doing all of these things, is that in my alignment? My guess is that there's at least one, maybe two of those things that you're doing because you feel like you need to prove something. That they're not actually coming from an aligned state of like, this is for my highest self, but it might be like from a, I have lack, so I'm going to spin all these plates and hope that something happens so I can get out of lack. And if it's coming from that place, then it's not going to produce the results that you want anyway.
Yeah. So, I just dropped it in there. I'm sure like everyone can relate, right, to these like edges coming, like no matter what you do, it's like life is kind of testing you. So there's, I don't want to say for sure, but like seems to be, right, like a law in place that part of the human experience is to always get to those edges. And what I want to relate to you guys is why I think most people are always stuck, and certainly I felt the same way. I think Elon would attest to that also, is that if the body responds the same way to an event every single time, it is nearly impossible to ever have a different experience with that event. Do you guys know what I mean? So it's like if you keep if you're like focuses on relationships and you keep meeting another guy or another girl, but the relationship kind of goes the same way, it goes through the same patterns and then like kind of breaks up. Like there's a pattern there, and there's like these like triggers that get hit in your body that make you feel a specific way. Then you start acting a certain way, then they start acting a certain way. Then like before you know it goes the way it goes. Maybe you feel that way with finances, maybe you feel that way with the other relationships, with health, whatever. So like part of that, again, I want to just go back to what I said before, is like having the ability to properly feel through the events in your life. Because the scariest thing is to feel something that we don't want to feel.
Yeah.
Right? And if you think about it, like the thoughts that impede you later on, the exhaustion that comes, like the not taking care of yourself, like all of that is sourced from feeling that way. All of it. It is the seed in the ground that grows into all the rest of it. So while so many people, right, are squarely focusing on their mind, right, and how I think and all this kind of stuff, and I'm not saying there's not value in having that awareness. It's great awareness to notice how your mechanism is working. If the deeper work is not happening in the system, it is nearly impossible to manage yourself into being a different person.
Mm-hmm.
That's like saying, you know what, forget personal development. Let's just do willpower.
I will say this. It's not that it's impossible. Your manager has turned you into different people all the time. It's just turning you consistently into not the person that you're most wanting to be, because the manager is not interested in your well-being. It's not interested in your fulfillment or your love or your health. It's interested in one thing and one thing only, and that is stopping you from feeling the feelings that it deems are bad. That's it. So it just moves you in directions and structures a life where you just keep avoiding the things that are there for you to actually deal with and heal. So it's been managing you really, really well in that. And if your life looks exactly like you want it to look right now, then your manager is doing a fucking phenomenal job.
That's right. Yeah.
But if it's not, and I would venture to say that it's not, because we're here and we're having this conversation, right? Then it's time to remove the manager from the part that's controlling your life.
Yeah. Or to just let, for me, it's like, I want to say a little bit different way. Everyone has a manager, right? Like there's like your identity, this person that you believe you are. And there's something managing that into place, what you're allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do. It's basically like your mom and your dad, who are now this mechanism inside your head, right? And your system and your identity that manage you the way that you are. Like that's what pretty much all of us either agreed with things that our parents did, so we became that, or we're like, I don't want to be anything like that, and then took the exact opposite route. There's like, there weren't many choices, but for a child who's 0 to 3 years old, their entire world is their parents. Like they don't go outside and like, hey, Bob, looks like you're building a house there. Like, tell me about that. You know, they don't do that stuff. So all you got is the data from inside your home and the beliefs that you grew up around, what you perceived your parents were doing, weren't doing, were good at, weren't good at. This becomes your identity. And by the time that you're aware enough to start making your own choices and the logic brain kicks in and stuff like that, I'm sorry to say, too little, too late, right? Because the foundation is set and everything grows from that. So you might have other experiences, but it's like, even if you want another experience and you really like that thing, it might be in stark contrast to the way that the foundation was set up. And then there's like this difficulty. So this manager comes as kind of a way to, you know, manage us into things, manage us out of things. So for me, it's like, look, I have never been able to work anything through my system. And I say through, not out of my system, by trying to get rid of a piece of myself. Most of you guys know, if you're doing spiritual work, there's like, you know, very common concept that we say about being whole and complete. Well, being whole and complete also means that every part of you, even the stuff you were told not to like, or that isn't good, or that's a bad little boy or a bad little girl, as you raise your consciousness and vibration, gets to come with you. Otherwise, you're not whole and complete. You're just parts, upgrading parts, right? So if you have a manager, the only way, again, to work with the flow of the energy is let the manager be there without doing anything about the manager. Otherwise, now you have a manager managing you and you're trying to manage the manager that's managing you. This doesn't work. And it's exhausting to do that. Guys, look, here's the thing. George is frustrated, right, about something. Mark is frustrated about something. Here's the reality, guys. If we were sitting together, I would invite that frustration to be there lovingly. And understand that it has a role to play in your life. It's giving you feedback, right, about something. And that is important feedback for you to have. So then it's important to have the frustration. Otherwise, you would just kind of stay where you are. There would be no momentum in life. And life is all about momentum, about evolution, about energy moving, right? It's like, these are the mechanisms that move us. So when we talk about alignment, it's starting to understand that these are not negative parts. They are just parts that give feedback and offer you information as to whether you are in alignment or out of alignment with what's good for you, not with what's good for anybody else, because there's no two people who are dynamically the same way on this planet. Everything is different for everybody, which is why there can't be a one cookie cutter solution, program, psychology, spiritual development that works for everybody, because everybody is dynamically set up differently. So here's the thing, like, if you're here, I want to give you permission for something. I want to give you permission to be human, fully engaged and loving everything that a human is. I could tell you, and Elon could speak for himself, I invested many, many years in mindset education, trying to overcome, literally, not go through, but overcome issues that I thought that I had, trying to escape the human experience, if I'm being perfectly honest. Doing a lot of medicine work, plant medicine work, all sorts of things all over the world, with working with shamans, energy work, like, because I was like, this is hard. This is painful. You know, what the fuck is this about? Trying to get back to spirit, basically, right? While I'm still in human form. And everything for me changed when I actually was like, wait a second, my spirit chose this physical body. There might be something to invest and find out over here. And I really went from being someone, and this is something we talk about a lot now, being from somebody who was chasing feeling good, which is what most of us are trying to do by making money or getting the body that we want and blah, blah, blah. We make our whole life about feeling good. And for me, it really switched when I was like, you know what? This is not really about feeling good. It's about learning how to feel good. Like, actually, you get that? Like, just to learn how to feel. And when I started learning how to feel, it gave me permission to start being human, all of it, frustrated, upset, and all these other things that I really kind of despised. And trust me, there are moments still that overwhelm the shit out of me. And I go to those places, and I need a reminder, just like I'm reminding you guys right now, that the first thing to start with, to get movement in anything in your life, is that whatever's happening right now, let it be there without trying to change it or manage it. First things first. Okay, let's jump to another question. Let's do Mark's, and then we'll kind of work that all in. All right, so Mark, what's up, brother? So Mark says, I have a challenge for the brothers Ferdman. I'm burnt out and frustrated with SFM business. SFM is a affiliate marketing program in an organization that we were still do. Actually, we'll be on a call with them tomorrow, that we've done a lot of work with in the past. I have been at it for almost 3 years and I've been struggling the whole time. I've worked with my coach and he says I'm doing everything technically right. I feel like I'm on a hamster wheel trying to create good content that adds value, but I'm just not getting a decent response. I need to figure out how to let the results go and create as opposed to create with the goal of sales. Cool. So Mark, look, in a way you coached yourself at the end there, right? Which is like how to create without creating from, with the end in mind kind of thing, right? This is a huge challenge for a lot of people. And I want to remind you that most of our society, if not all of our society today, is structured around achievement. So you've learned from a very young age that life is about achievement. I only have value if I achieve. And then we like create all these goals. However, but the moment we create a goal and we're not there yet, what's the energy that we feel in our body? It's immediate scarcity and fear, right? And then comparison. Oh, they have it and this and that. So look, Mark, you probably know us, right? From having been in the community for quite a while. You also know that with that affiliate offer, we made multiple 7 figures over our tenure with them. So here's what I can tell you. We invested a lot of money in marketing. I think some months were up to like, 70 grand in marketing expenditure. The difference, this is going to sound wild, but I find this to be true now in every area of my life. And back then I had a big data pool to look at and tell you that that's how things are. It did not matter how much money we spent. The thing that created whether we had an amazing month as affiliates or a devastating month where we put out way too much money and didn't get returns on it was our mood. Plain and simple. I mean, I'll go into a little bit more, but I'm saying like to be more exacting with my language, it's like what was the energy behind it, right? If we put the money out there and then Elon and I have stuff going on in our lives, whether it's around the business or elsewhere, and we're upset, we're frustrated, and all this stuff is going on, and that's just where we stayed, guess what? The results that we got showed up to reflect our upset and frustration. Because what you carry inside of you, the holographic reality experience just reflects that like a perfect mirror every single time. So we would sit around and we would have conversations like, hey, what's going on for you? What's going on for you? And we would do work with each other. We would help ourselves release those things. What we do is like clearing exercises. And then we would just give up any expectation of what would happen. And what do you know? It's like boom, 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 like all these sales would start coming through like crazy. So I'm telling you, this same exact work would yield 2 completely different results based on what we were carrying inside of our systems. And that was the beginning of us really going like, this is weird. And then the weirdest part would be like going on vacations where we would do nothing after working our asses off, 70, 80 hour weeks. And then we would go on vacation where we're doing absolutely nothing and we would make a bulk of our money while we were on vacation. Now that happened over and over and over and over and over again. We had to start investigating that. Okay, like why is it that when we don't do anything is all the money comes in, but when we're working our asses off, nothing is happening, right? So here's what I want to tell you that we've discovered over the years is like, we're not saying don't work hard. There's value in working hard. There's value in taking action, okay? There's also value in sitting around and doing fuck all and getting yourself in perfect alignment, feeling good all the time and watching how many things happen without you really doing anything at all. And the only thing you got to choose is when something shows up, whether or not you want to act on it or not. That's pretty much it. And both are very valuable places to be so that you can find how it is that you want to be in this world. For some people, they just want to work really hard. That's fine. And here's the thing. I want to tell you, I'm serious. We have all these things that like hard work gets you where you want to get to. Really? Look around the planet. There's a lot of people working really hard that make barely any money that they can barely survive on. So once in a while, we find a person that works really hard and makes a lot of money. And then everybody wants to emulate that person. But I will tell you that it is not my experience at all that the people that are making a lot of wealth are the ones that are working the hardest at all. I think Juliet mentioned too, like most people feel, you watch all these people get promotions in front of you and you're like, I'm a better worker than them. I'm more valiant than them. So it's like, why do those people always get pushed ahead while the people who are like the best workers at a job will sit there for years not getting a promotion? So part of it is kind of what you alluded to is like putting too much importance on something. Okay, we're talking about like laws. There's like this immutable law that if you that the world is about neutrality, like the universe is about neutrality. You look outside the window in nature, everything's in perfect harmony and balance. Everywhere in the universe, it's the same thing. Your body, it's the same thing. pH levels, right? Like everything is about being held in balance. The moment something comes out of balance, even if it's a quote unquote good thing, a neutralizing force has to come to bring it back into balance, which is these edges and these events that come that are like when you're like, oh, here we go. Things are about to get really good. It's like, bam, smacks you back down. And you're like, fuck, I'm right where I started, because that's neutrality. And that's got to keep happening over and over again. So the way that we mitigate that risk of those events happening is actually by decreasing the importance of the things that we think are important, getting ourselves into alignment, which is really what feels good and what doesn't feel good for you. And starting to play more with what is the energy giving you. Okay, so look, if the things that you're doing right now feel like a struggle, when you do them, your energy is low, right? You're not getting the results that you think you're supposed to get. Then the feedback is stop doing those things. That's not your path. Maybe SFM is not your path. Like maybe that was the stepping stone for something. I would look at what has SFM given you that feels really good right now, right? Like what is it that investment of time so far has taught you that you really enjoy? And you're like, yeah, that's the part of it I really, really like. And if I could do that 20 to 30 hours a week, I would I'd be on cloud 9. Cool. Go create a business around that. Go do something with that. And then in spare time, I promise you, while you take your eyes off SFM, you may find SFM suddenly growing. It'll be kind of like that. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, the only piece I wanted to add is, Mark, you've been doing it a long time, and I know you've been following us for a long time. I know we've been in each other's space for a long time. It's all about, and this is what you're coming up against, right? Like this is the edge. Your coach is like, you're doing everything right. So where you're looking to produce results isn't the place that's going to produce the results for you. So Mark, like I know in that community, right, it's so easy to look at others and go, oh, they've been working for shorter, or they're doing the same thing and they're producing results. Because guess what? That's their journey. It just is. That's their particular journey to their level of abundance and success. What you're trying to do is fit yourself into a model that's not necessarily your journey to achieve success. Right now, I'm not saying that like 3 years is a short time or a long time. For you, it's the perfect amount of time. It's just starting to look at different places. And I would just keep pointing you to that until you clear your energy blocks around your success, whether it's SFM or the next thing or the next thing after that, you're going to keep coming up against the same exact edge.
Yeah.
By the way, like we've been running our business now for almost 8.5 years, consistently coming up against our edges. What's really different for Guy and I is we were just talking the other day that like at the end of this year, we're kind of going through the same like energy frequency that we were last year. Where we were last year about everything that was happening was incredibly different than where we are this year. It's almost like we got to relive a very similar experience and just notice how little resistance or how much less resistance we have to it and how much more acceptance we have for it. So life is, like I said in the beginning, right? It's going to continuously highlight certain aspects for you. Mark, I would say that when you tune into your quote unquote, what your mind is telling you is failure around SFM, that's the part that you get to work on.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with what you're doing. It has to do with, there's a little part in there that's getting really, really triggered by the perception that you're failing. And that's the thing that keeps self-sabotaging. And by the way, guys, it does it for every single one of us. Yeah. You get to a certain level. That level equals comfort. Getting past that level of comfort means challenging yourself. But your system, unchecked, will continuously self-sabotage you to bring you back down to whatever it is that you're comfortable with. Whether it's keep putting you in shitty relationships with people that you have no business being. Keep putting you on yo-yo diets where like you really like, I'm going to really do it this time. And then you come crashing back to earth even harder than than where you started. In business, you'll have success, and then you'll get to a level of success, and you're like, and then it just comes crashing. That's your journey.
Sure. Yeah, and I agree. Like, Mark, if we sat around and we're like, hey, look, give me everything that you've learned over the last 3 years. Give me all the benefit you've had of your investment of time and money here. Like, we would have a list that's maybe like a fucking papyrus. We'd be unrolling that shit for an hour, like reading all the awesome stuff that you've learned. So, like, to me, it's like, look, invest your energy in that. There's like all this beautiful stuff that's come of it, right? And then there's like that one thing, like, I'm not making money, at least not the way that I want to. And it's like, and that's where all the importance goes. So I want you to think about this, like, again, like balancing forces, right? You have this balancing with this fulcrum over here, and you're putting this one thing, like money, here, and then everything else here. And it's like this. It can't compete. It's such a small, minuscule thing but we tie our personal safety to it. And then it's like everything else. It's like, oh, my identity. I told people I would have this business that's successful. I don't have it yet. That must mean I'm not a good person. Like, I can't show up for these people and show them how fucking great I am. And even if you did that and had the money and you're like, hey, guys, like, I made all this money. Guess what? Ego attack. Like, it would be like, oh, I'm important now. I've made all this money. I know what I'm talking about, right? And then it's like, boom, neutralizing force, take all the money away from you. So it's like, this is why it's like this dance. We either try to avoid too much or we put too much importance on it. And both of them are just putting too much importance on anything. You are where you are. You're not where you're not. I know that's not what you want to hear, but that's the reality. Can you love? My wife always asks me this question. She says, if nothing changed, can you love where you are? Start with that. Because if you cannot love where you are, it does not matter where you're going. You're not going to love it anymore. The same programs are coming with you. They have that, I think, that old line. It's like, people like, move. And they said, no matter where you go, there you are. You'll feel good for a period of time because the environment will change, but then something will happen. Like Glenn said, a trigger will come, an edge will come. Those parts will come online because those are the parts that always protect you. They don't know any other way to protect you. So the moment there's any stress, anxiety, fear, overwhelm in your life, all those same programs come online and they have the same perceptions they had before. And they will take anything beautiful and deteriorate it into shit. And make you think, oh, fuck, I must have not moved to the right place. Oh, I must not be in the right opportunity. Oh, I must not be in the right relationship. If I just get the right opportunity, the right relationship, then I'll get there. And that's the illusion. What you really want to get intimate with, Mark, is the fear that you're feeling. There's the unworthiness that you're feeling. And that's not new. SFM didn't bring that on. You've been feeling that since you were a little boy.
Exactly.
So I'll let Elon chime in here, but this is the last thing I'll say is, look, here's the diagram. You have an environment inside of you and outside of you, and your body's responding to certain things. You have sensations inside your body. The mind is the interpretation machine of the sensations. So by the time you're like, I'm frustrated, that's just an interpretation. That's your mind looking at the sensation going, oh, I'm sad. So you have an emotion and you have a feeling. That's all interpretation. And then the mind goes, okay, well, when we're sad and when we're afraid and when we're this or that, what do we do? Oh, well, we reach out to this person. We do that. We frantically, we try to get control again, right? Like all that stuff just from a sensation in the body. And you're trying to build a life that if you had enough money, you think will protect you from ever having this sensation again, this pit of feeling in your stomach that happens when you get really afraid, right? Mark, and I'm tracking you. So it's like right in that center of the stomach there. And you think enough money will do that. Well, it might, maybe the first 50 or 100 grand. And you're like, oh, I'm good. Then you start making $150,000, $250,000. And you know what happens? You start freaking out. You know why? Because you start becoming really afraid of losing what you've made. And now you start living in the same fear, even worse than you were when you had no money, because at least you knew how to have no money, but you don't know how to have a lot of money. And there's all that same fear. And then all the patterns come. And before you know it, you take that money and you're like, get it away from me. Because it's the only way to neutralize yourself back to a place that's comfortable that you know how to deal with. So it's like, again, the programs come with you. Don't deal with the externalities, deal with the programs. And the programs all happen in the sensation. So there's no problem with that feeling in your stomach other than you think it's not safe to feel through that thing. The moment you start feeling through that thing and permission it, I promise it, you're just going to feel different on the inside. There's going to be like space. And like I said, our body is divinely connected to an intelligence and will reorganize your system. I cut my finger yesterday. I always say this example, but I actually did cut my finger yesterday pretty badly on the tip. Like, I'm not sitting here going, all right, finger, this hurts. You should bend yourself quicker. It's going to do it in its own time. And there's a divine intelligence that takes care of this without me having to do a fucking thing. This is what we're talking about, is tapping into that.
Yeah. Mark, if you're called to it, and anybody else, if you're called to it, I know I've spoken to Rebecca and Erica. I think I saw Jivan on here, Christine. If any of you guys are called to it, then, and you want to do this, like Mark, I can sit with you in connection and actually highlight for you the things to start to focus on that are not external, but internal. And for anybody else, if you are wanting to book a session with me, again, for $99, you can head over to satoriprime.com/masterclass, and you can book, it'll be probably like a 30 to 45 minute session with me, where we can do some of the energetic work. Obviously, like, there's a big difference between you typing a question on here and me being able to sit with you and hear your story and have you bring certain things into your awareness, and you can really get the experience of the power of this work. So if any of you guys have been like on the periphery listening to our podcast, maybe you're even in the collective, and you're ready to kind of take this to the next level, it's going to take something from you. It's going to take something from you. And what I mean by that is, like, Rebecca is just an amazing example, right? So it's like, it's going to take you fully believing that you are worthy of investing in yourself, both from time and money. It just is. Like, and I know whatever's happening in your mind right now, guess what? Your mind does not want to be on that call with me. It is terrified at the thought of it because it doesn't want to be found out. It loves managing your life. It loves controlling the things and how they operate. So yeah, it's going to throw everything at you not to do it. It's your job to really tune in and see, like, what's my heart saying?
Yep.
Leave the money aside, leave the time aside, leave the worries aside. Like, what is my heart saying? Does my heart say, like, this is it? Rebecca's an amazing example because I know what it took for Rebecca to get on that call with me. Rebecca actually signed up for our masterclass afterwards, following the same exact magic. Like, she is just living a completely different life. Christine too, completely different life. And it was all from that call. Like, that's how it spun. Whether you join the masterclass, you don't join the masterclass, you join the academy, you don't join the academy, honestly is irrelevant. If you're not willing to say yes to yourself at this point, what do you expect the universe to do for you? Right? It's going to keep responding in the same way that you provide the actions for it. You say, hey, I'm worthy. I'm done with this. This is my line in the sand moment. Guess what? The universe gets woken up and stands on notice. You keep thinking, like, someday I will do this. This sounds really good. Someday I will definitely, 1,000,000% definitely do this. The universe is like, oh, cool.
We'll see you in a year.
Exactly. You just keep getting to receive the same exact thing. So yeah, that's my invitation. satoriprime.com/masterclass. And I would love to offer this to you. It's a gift to be able to live life from this paradigm.
And I want to just put a little thing in here just from reading some of the chat stuff. Guys, like, whatever it is that's going on in your life right now, if you're perceiving it as a challenge, again, I want you to tune into the energy of a challenge. It's a formidable opponent that you need to now get big and strong to take on, which means working really hard to make something happen. Think about the energy behind that, right? It's like when we talk about, we had that woman share about how I have to do something. Again, same thing. It's like, I have to do something. Oh, there's this great challenge. I got to take it on. I have to pay my bills. I have to get in shape. I have to do this. I have to get married. I have to take care of the kids. Like, it's so, like, again, tune into the frequency and just feel what that feels like on the body to constantly be amping up your energy to take on life. It's exhausting. So you get to do those things. You get to pay your bills. You get to get in health. You get to give yourself this gift if you choose, right? Like, it doesn't matter. You do it, you don't do it. It's like that. The biggest gift we've gotten from God is free will. That's it, right? Like that's really what separates us from pretty much every other animal on our planet is we're very aware of free will. So you get to exercise it as you choose to do. Just know that that's kind of the flip sides of these coins. It's either people are living in challenge or they're seeing everything as an opportunity. Mark, you can see like everything happening in your business as an opportunity that's leading you to transform your life. That's leading you to people like me and Elon. That's led you to other great mentors like the people in SFM that have put you in a community of people that support you and take care of you and have helped you grow over the last 3 years, right? That's a really big difference than I'm challenged in my business. It's like, look at the opportunity this brought into my life. And like some opportunities, sometimes it's perfect at that time. Other times it's great. Like you see, we're not part of the community after being pretty much the heads of the community, right? Like we taught at every level of that company. We were top earners and for 5 straight years. Like we moved on, not because we don't love the community. Like, you know, we'll be there tomorrow, which is something that we still do part-time, like here and there. But it's like, it was no longer a fuck yes fit in our lives. And that's why we pivoted the company and started doing what we've been doing for the last 3 years. And I got to tell you, it's come with a host of immeasurable amount of things that we didn't see coming that have helped me and Elon grow over the last 3 years in ways that honestly are making me emotional right now and making me want to cry, because I think those are way more valuable than what I thought was going to happen when we took and pivoted this company to where we wanted to go. And it's like, is the company where we want it to be right now? Absolutely not. We want to be making way bigger, like waves on planet Earth. I can tell you, the 2 guys that started this mission 3 years ago when we pivoted this company could not do the things that we thought that we could do because we hadn't worked our parts yet. And all these things in our system that got triggered with the fear and the upsets and the frustrations that have come along with rebuilding our brand into this other company, those were the things that would have happened. Even if we had met all the success, we would have destroyed all of it. It would have scared us too much. We would have been too overwhelmed by what was going on. So it's like now we are incrementally working through different layers of our system, upgrading our vibration and frequency so that we can maybe one day be given the opportunity to serve at the absolute highest level and get the honor of being in front of perhaps millions of people and actually share something that genuinely makes a difference in people's lives versus thinking like, okay, here we have a few things here that we know shift people. And trust me, we were transforming the fuck out of people's lives before. What we can do today is at a completely different level. And I'm telling you, we would not have found this path had we not made that pivot. So it's like, that's what we get to tune into all the time. And at the bottom line is like, here's like a base belief Elon and I believe in is like, we're always supported. Always supported. We ask this question of many, many people, pretty much always get the same answer. If not always get the same answer. It's like, everything's going to shit in your life. You don't know what to do anymore. You feel like you're flying off a cliff and the ground is getting real close. And right before you smack on the ground, you think to yourself, you know what? I've tried everything. I don't know what to do anymore. You throw up your hands in the air and you go, fuck it. Let the chips fall where they may. And right around that time, this incredible thing happens to you. A job opportunity, the love of your life, your business starts taking off. Every person you hear who has a story to tell usually tells you that version of the story. It's like these magical little hands come and they pick you up and all this magical stuff starts happening. There's some, again, if that's a universal experience, something we want to tune into is that the support's available all the time. However, most of the time, we're the idiot in the canoe trying to go upriver, trying to tell the river where we want to go versus being in love and seeing the opportunity of where the river has taken us, which is usually 100 times better than anything we could have imagined for ourselves. So if you've had those experiences, I want to point to them because you've already had your spiritual experiences. You've already had your spiritual awakening. Yet there's this fear that life creates that makes us kind of like come back into our little identity human self, right? And start working from there, thinking that this peon little brain that has no access to infinite potential is going to figure out the exact one potential that's going to make us most happy. And it's like, you don't even know what that is. Most people are very clear what they don't want. They have no idea what they do want. And then they walk a path arbitrarily towards that. So it's like, look, if you don't know where you want to go and what's going to make you happy, then there's been 14 billion years of evolution that have happened without a single thought on your part or any investment of your energy at all. that have created all this magic and wonder that every single day we can walk outside and look at. And you have free will, whether to work with it or work against it or anything else that you want to, right? So it's like, you're either gonna, it's fine if you know what you don't like. Cool, like feel into that. That doesn't feel good. Don't fucking do that thing. Don't be in that relationship. Stop being on that diet. Stop being in that company, you know, like whatever it is. But the other part of it is like, trust that there is this other intelligence. I don't care if you call it God or the universe or the Holy Spirit or whatever works for you, right? Connect to that thing and start having a little bit of trust that where you are right now is, it is trying to guide you, but you've just been kicking and screaming the whole time. Try not kicking and screaming. See how fast you get to where you want to get to.
Yeah.
See what happens. And if you do get upset again, just let it be there. That's a part of you that's working so hard on your behalf to try to make you safe. Honor the frustration. Honor the fear. Honor the sadness. These are not negative emotions. They're just call it part of the system. As much as being happy or joyful or confident or anything else, everything is perfect feedback for that moment to let you know whether you're in alignment or not. That's it.
I'm curious if there's two marks, because I'm getting like two different things. Like from one person, I'm finally in. The other one's like commenting on what you're saying. So I'm assuming there's just two marks.
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
No 2 marks. Same mark. No. Yeah, 1 mark. I think he's probably just because it's not on perfect time with the stream.
Well, he was saying that the video, like he hasn't had video and it hasn't started.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I gotcha.
Then he was commenting throughout. So regardless, I mean, could be. All right. Who else do we have a question from?
Yeah. There weren't questions. I marked a few just because they about the challenge, but I talked about that. And then Rebecca said, I know that what I'm trying to do with these income streams is trying a bunch of stuff to see what works, but more importantly, what I truly enjoy.
Yeah.
What I found this week was I was getting stuck and came up against those edges and then started doubting, but that has led to a deeper understanding. Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's all the questions we had today. Oh, we did good today. This is the most snap we've ever done.
Yeah, we had a small crew in comparison to the amount of registrations today. Okay. So we got through the questions pretty quick.
Got it. Well, if anybody has any other questions, we'll give you guys a minute to do that. If not, we'll just end this, and maybe, Guy, you can even run that little testimonial reel video.
Sure.
And yeah, again, if you are ready to take this to the next level, it was funny. I was reading like the comments that people wrote, like Christine and Erica and Rebecca and Nikki and Yvonne. I was like, it almost feels like we paid these people off to to put those comments in there. Yeah, so Mark said, I missed the whole thing. Looking forward to seeing the rebroadcast. Mark, you know what's really interesting is that's how powerful your manager is. Like, there's an energetics, and this happens all the time where, like, maybe you're reading a book or you're listening to something and you feel this thing come up about you where you just like space out and you're reading words, but nothing's going through. It's interesting how we can control and distort our reality to stop hearing the thing that we most need to hear. And pretty much this entire session today has been intertwining your question through like everyone's question, and you were not able to hear any of it because at this moment you're just not ready to hear it. So I just find it really, really, really interesting.
Erica, I'm actually looking for your question, but I've done a search and I don't see any particular question.
From Erica?
Yeah. She said she put one in there.
Let me see if I see it.
She said this partly it's been covered, but if we can expand on something that would help you, I'd be happy to do that. I just can't find the question. I did a search through the whole chat box.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So yeah, if you want to write it, you feel free to. So Juliet, again, just like as a little piece with it, right? I know I need improvement in many areas. I get to improve if is just so much easier than I need to, right? Like I need to, there, it just insinuates an immediate judgment that where you are is not okay. Start always with where you guys are is a perfect place for you to be. There's only the present. Time is a man-made phenomenon, right? It doesn't exist. It's only existed a few hundred years, right? Before that, they didn't know how to calculate distances properly because they literally had no time. So for getting from this castle to that castle was a 3 days ride, right? Which meant like nighttime and up to, like a sun up and sun down. That was how they measured time. But they didn't know that there was like X amount of miles between such and such place because you need time to measure distance. So like I just want to get you to see like how much our paradigm changes our experience of being, and our experience of being is what's going to have the way the life show up in your life. Case in point, your subconscious, I don't think like science has discovered this yet, but it's like starting to get this. And I often make this understanding of like how science is seeing this at work too. Your subconscious is tied to the field. Your conscious mind is not. So the greater field that has all this incredible information in it is where your subconscious is tied to. You can only find this part of yourself when you quiet down the other parts. And the other parts quiet down when they feel safe. Otherwise, they got to keep talking to you because you've given them the job of making you safe. So they're trying to do that, which means they're trying to work with you. So the first thing is like whatever parts are screaming loudest, thank them because they're doing the job that you gave them to do. Yep. Any scientist will tell you that the greatest discoveries that have been made technologically happen as eureka moments for people. It suddenly wasn't, and suddenly there just was. Like there was just an insight on how to do it, right? That is valid throughout the history of mankind. That's how spirituality was developed. That's how religions were developed. That's how governments were developed. Like this is how we actually learn. The conscious mind, if you want to think of it this way, is great at taking resources that are already here and reshaping them and putting them in other directions. Meaning like if we took a house apart and had bricks, you could take apart those bricks and put them together in a different shape and form. That's the conscious mind. But it has zero access to finding new materials that could potentially build a house in a completely new way that's never been thought of before. That's not what the conscious mind does. So for those of you guys that are looking for these type of breakthroughs, and you're like, you know what, I'm just one book away, I'm just one course away, they just fill up your mind with just more chatter. Pretty much all it does. I'm not telling you not to read books. I think it's super valuable if you're willing to take those books and experientially feel what they're talking about so that you can actually experience it through your field, not through here. Again, yeah. Otherwise that's more information and just manage yourself. Oh shit, that book told me I need to be this way. Oh, am I asking myself those 3 questions today? Oh, fuck. It's like, it's draining. So when you've used up all your energy to manage yourself all day long, how much energy do you have left to create? To be in love, to be in connection, to feel safe, like all these other things, right? It's like, stop draining the energy. And the way that you do that is you calm down your nervous system. That's why meditation, that's why we put out, the practice that we put out for everyone to start leveraging, because whether you understand it or not, it doesn't fucking matter. I can tell you plenty of our students today have monumental, life-altering, seismic breakthroughs without them comprehending at all how any of the things are happening. Because it genuinely does not matter. So this is kind of like an invitation to like, give yourself a break. Give your parts a break. Start finding time to take care of yourself a little bit more. Start meeting more of your needs in terms of like self-care and things like this. And I promise you are going to see a life show up in the most magical ways that are nearly impossible to explain why, and you won't have to. Most of the time, Elon and I don't even know why the things that we're doing work. We just know that they do. I don't need to understand why that, the light switch over there turns on the electricity above my head, but I know when I hit that button, I get light. I'll leave it at that. Anything else you want to share?
Nope.
All right, friends. Thank you for being here today. We value your questions and, of course, your time. We know that you could be in a lot of different places. So thank you for putting that time in with us. We hope today was really valuable. Again, for those of you guys who are feeling called to have a conversation with Elon, satoriprime.com/masterclass, and then schedule in your time once you've filled out that application and that questionnaire. For everybody else, thank you for being here. You guys are welcome back anytime you like, whether you move forward or not. No big deal with us. We just want you here. And again, if this is bringing value to you, then we appreciate that. I will wrap this up by playing out a video of people who've done some work with us. So if you're kind of like on the fence and you want to hear from other people, you can feel free to stay as long or as little as you like to share in that. And if you have any questions, by all means, please do not hesitate for a moment to reach out to either one of us. Okay. All right, guys. Love you lots. Thank you for being here. Bye, everybody.
Hey friends, I want to take a second to share the massive shift my wife and I have experienced in our chiropractic office. We literally did not change any of our procedures, and we increased our office collections over 50% in the past couple of months. We're doing the same exact thing, and our conversion rate went from about 60% to 90% for everybody that walks into our office, and we've increased our prices and are still closing a higher percentage and being able to help more people in their health. I made the shift internally and the results came naturally. And what's awesome is we don't do any contracts in our office, and our retention rate has gone through the roof. Now that I've done the personal work and overcome so many things and emotions that I was dealing with, including anxiety, I no longer wanted to come into the office because I was stressed out from all the confrontation that I may have to address that day. I was burnt out. I just didn't see any hope or future in the office because it felt like it was a revolving door. Since we don't do contracts, people were starting and then very quickly dropping out. And although I'm still doing the same adjustments and the same technique, our retention has gone through the roof. We're no longer having those dropouts. And I thought that I was able to hide my emotions and hide my energy, but the results showed otherwise because people were discontinuing. So I know they were able to pick up on that. And now that I've felt that shift inside, I look forward to coming to the office. I work longer hours if I would like to because I'm not trying to avoid it at all costs. I communicate better with my wife in the office since we both work in the office. Now that we're doing the work together, and it's just been so much fun. And we had our record week last week, and we would not have been able to do it if it was not the work that we were doing with Satori Prime. They show us the way, and it's our responsibility to take the action and do the things we get to do to get to where we want. There's no doubt that this has absolutely changed my life, changed my wife's life, changed my child's life, and all the lives of the people we're now able to impact with a new renewed excitement and passion for the office. I'm excited to keep working with Guy and Alon and all of their coaches on this journey. And if I could give any advice, it would be to take action as soon as you are ready, or as soon as you can, even before you're ready, so that the results that you're looking for in life aren't delayed. The sooner we take action, the sooner we get to where we want to be. And it doesn't have to be hard. We just get to do the work and the results will come naturally. I love you guys, and I hope that you have an amazing journey just like I have.
Before I had started with Satori Prime, I was caught in cycles of just negative thoughts where I didn't think I was worthy of being able to achieve things that I really wanted to achieve. I was feeling depressed. I had very little income coming in, but I just knew that what I had heard from actually Guy on a podcast with people I follow, the things he was saying about conquering yourself, or not so much conquering, but figuring out what walls you have to break through in order to move on in your life and achieve the things you want to, that really spoke to me. And one of the biggest things that's helped change my life is the learning how to realize thoughts are just that, thoughts. And then on top of that, realizing that the difference between me achieving what I want to achieve and not doing so is all up to me. I can do this. I truly believe that I can do anything, and that the sky really is the limit. And to give you evidence of it, I started with them with just the idea that I wanted to have a gym in 3 months. So my goal was by May 23rd to have a gym opened up with a minimum of 10 members that I would receive by the time May 23rd hit. On May 5th, I officially opened my gym with 7 members. in the next 2 weeks, I don't even know because I'm not trying to plan it, but I anticipate having between 10 and 15 members in the gym by the day that I had set for myself. I've exceeded the expectations, and it's all because Guy and Elon have helped me to discover what I'm really capable of and helped me to shine my light throughout the town that I'm in. So I can't recommend it enough to you. If you're even considering this, pull the trigger and do it.
I knew I wanted to create some kind of ripple effect in the world and make some kind of massive change, but I had blocks I had to get past before I was confident enough to do that. These two have brought in such radical, life-altering ideas that completely have changed my perspective and the way I view the world. Tools that they've given me to quiet the chatter in my mind, to work in flow, to use those flow states and intuition to really grab hold of creating new possibilities for myself. And that has a ripple effect on everyone in my life, everyone I come in contact with. I don't care whether it's a friend, a coworker, a client. You want to massively affect an entire chain of people. They truly, truly live what they're teaching, and my life is totally massively upgraded. I love working with these guys.
You know, I was just thinking about you both over the weekend, and I'm like, these gentlemen probably have no idea, like, the transformation that they're helping another human being with, somebody that they don't know. Never could I have thought that the journey that we were getting on together would put me where I am. So, like, I can just truly feel how much you care about me and how you want to see me be the best version of myself and who I want to be. And working with like a coach and people who you've never met before, the fact that I truly have like a love for you guys after working with you for like whatever, like 2 or 3 months. Is just amazing. And I'm I'm kind of like a little bit of a manly man, especially when I'm interacting with other men. So like the fact that I could even get on here and say that to you guys is like a big deal for me. So thank you. I've always been chasing the material things, and like that's what it's always been about for me. And now it's so much more. And now my mission is just not a mission of acquiring material things, but it's really just a mission of finding peace and love and harmony with myself and all the people that I care about. And I know that if I do that, all the other shit's going to come. Not about, getting on a diet to look good or, building the Amazon business so I can make $1 million a year. It's not what it's about. And so that really opened up for me. I feel incredible. I really, really feel incredible. And then lastly, I came home and I saw my wife last night, and I started crying because I saw her. Like, I saw her for all the reasons, I fell in love with her. And I had never seen her that way. I'd never seen her that way. It was just such an amazing moment that we had. And just to be there with her and just experience all the reasons I fell in love with her, all the history we have together, just without question the woman that I want to be with for the rest of my life. I mean, you want to talk about a gift? Who cares about the money, the job? I mean, that right there, that's what life is about. That's what this is all about. You can't, I was saying this, I was like, I can buy the nicest car, the nicest house, I will never get that feeling. If I told you I bought a BMW, do you think I would choke up? Mercedes-Benz, a mansion? No. I'd be like, look at me. But telling you that I saw my wife for for who she really was and just being so in love in that moment, I can barely even get through it. So I just feel so powerful, so I just feel just such a sense of love and just gratitude, and I'm in just such an amazing place right now. Such an amazing place.
So during those very challenging times, I had actually started listening to Guy and Elon's podcasts, and I had started implementing the exercises that they recommend, worked on my mindset, started doing those little shifts. But I knew that for me to get the full experience, it was time for me to take that leap and start working with them more directly. So Needless to say, towards the end of last year, you know, my business kind of fell apart. I was struggling with depression. I was struggling with finding true happiness. And the thing that is what I thought would provide me true happiness was income and buying specific things. So like I have the fancy car, I have the high-rise apartment, I had all these different things that I thought would provide me that true fulfillment. But inside I was still this upset, unhappy individual. Provided me this new insight that, you know, true happiness comes from within. Guys, I can't even begin to explain how impactful and how much love I have for these two guys, because they have literally revolutionized my life, changed everything around, and you know, there's been some incredible things that have happened. So more specifically, I've been able to utilize this information that I gathered in these tools to find that true inner happiness. And I have learned in this journey to ultimately be myself and have that self-confidence and not worry about what other people think of me. My mom came home and she was very upset, and she actually sought advice from me. And with the tools and the information that I've gained working with Guy and Elon, I was able to get her on the right track and follow what she was truly passionate about. Sure enough, that very next day, she went in there and put in her 2 weeks to Target, and now she's her own boss. So it was absolutely incredible to, you know, not only be able to impact my life, but be able to take that information and share it with others, and especially be able to impact a family member of mine. She's extremely happy. You know, she seeks advice from me from different things, but I've never seen her so happy, because now she's her own boss. She's completely booked, and she's actually making more money with her business than what she was working at Target. I used to struggle, and I'm sure a lot of people can probably relate to me, you know, can probably relate in this specific area. You know, during the day, maybe you're working long hours, 10 to 12 hours, but then you like reflect back on what you accomplished during those 10 to 12 hours, and you realize like, wow, you know, maybe I didn't really get that many things done. And that was something that I realized that was happening each and every day for myself. So me and Guy and Elon, we had a conversation. They said the most important thing to do is focus on the things that provide you true fulfillment, and work on those things when you feel it is right for you. I've been able to take a 10-hour time frame where I would get a handful of things done within that 10 hours, and I have now crunched it down to a 2 to 3 hour time frame. I want that work-life balance, and you know, that was some of the things that I was struggling with, was, you know, getting my tasks accomplished on time and everything like that. So guys, I promise you, you are going to have an incredible experience working with Guy and Elon, and that's just it. Your story is going to be different, and the things that you experience is going to be different than what I've experienced. But I can promise you and assure, or I can offer that it's going to be the most incredible experience for you to work with these two guys, because they genuinely care about you and your life, and most importantly, your family too.
I was actually at a point where I was considering leaving the coaching. It had nothing to do with them, to be very fair. It had a lot to do with me, and I thought, no, I can do this. I feel like I've learned this and I've learned that. But it was an old pattern that was actually a part of what was coming up for me. And in that moment, I had some fear around my finances, or I had fear around what I was going to receive. And at the end of the day, I decided to stay. I'm glad that I did. And what was really amazing at that point is, rather than leading into old patterns, what I decided, or made the choice to do rather, was to step into a space of the unknown so that I could receive new possibilities, the same possibilities that I had been like praying and asking from the universe. And lo and behold, when I stood in a new space for the first time, actually responded in conversations with, you know, I am worthy of receiving certain amounts of money, I am worthy of this, I am worthy of that, and bringing that energy into my conversations, within less than a week, I had $8,300 just show up in front of me from unexpected sources. What do you say about that? Guy and Elon, in their coaching program, can never take responsibility for the results that you receive. It's not for them to take responsibility for that, it's for you. But what I want to do is I want to give them credit to walking with me down my road, down my journey, so that I had someone to stand with me in that space where I was about to sabotage everything. Unconsciously, I was about to do that. But because I had made the commitment to myself to work with these guys, and that they were ready and willing to be a bigger stand for me than I was for myself in that moment, I was able to receive actually what it is that I want in this life. And that's like abundance, and that's relationships, and that's breakthroughs. This stuff it's not that it's hard to hold or hard to receive or hard to gain, but when you get the privilege of meeting someone that seems like it's your match in a coaching space, take it on, because it is much easier to go through life and to work through your breakthroughs and your old patterns and your blind spots when you have a mirror for you. And that's what Guy and Alana have been for me. And I'll always credit them for a part of where I end up in life. And I feel like what those guys have done is they've really helped me to launch into a whole different side of myself, into a whole larger side of myself. And I feel incredibly grateful. If you're in a space right now where you're considering coaching and you feel like it's a fit for you and for you with Guy and Alana, I would just tell you today, like, don't waste time. You have no idea what's coming in your direction. Take that stuff on, take it seriously, and like lead your life with velocity. And it's something that's possible for everybody.
Since I started following you guys, not only has that had a profound impact on my life, but almost every single person that I've shared your content with, passed it on to people from Europe, the United States, Australia, where I live, they always write back to me telling me how it's impacted their life. And it's not just in one area. It touches them in business, it touches them in their relationships, it touches them in their relationship to themselves. So I think it was just about time that I said thank you from the bottom of my heart. What you have done for me and countless others is so freaking amazing. For anybody who's considering the, I guess, possibility of working with Guy and Ilan, consuming some of their content, all I can say is don't even think about it. Every second you're waiting is a second that you could be nourishing your mind, enriching your soul, and actually getting your machine that is you onto a path of creating the life that you really desire. I'm not just talking about things, but I'm talking about your state of being and the actual place you exist from in your life.
Before I started with them, had quite a tumultuous relationship with my husband, lots of disagreements about parenting mainly, and it's really good to say that we're definitely on solid ground right now. It seems that we just respect each other a lot more, and our conversations seem to be at a much more higher level. Even so that my 3-year-old noticed how happy everyone was, and we were sitting at dinner one night and he just basically said, everyone's happy now, and I just thought that was so lovely to hear. So other things that have happened to me is I had this business idea for quite some time, and last week all of a sudden things have started snowballing. So my business idea went from a vision to kind of it's starting to happen and get into motion. And I'm a mom of a 12-week-old baby, so a lot of those types of people can't typically get things going quite quickly. And with their help and guidance, I feel that I kind of am empowered to do really whatever I want. And if you're on the fence about any of it, just do it, make the commitment and do it, and you'll definitely be better for it.
But I want to really thank you from the bottom of my heart. I so appreciate what you guys bring into this world and what you do, and it's so aligned with my purpose, which is to be an unconditional stand for others. And you actually help me to be a better stand, not only for myself, but also for every single soul I touch. I mean, we all have unique gifts, and well, let's share it, because together we grow, together we are strong, and we want to be there for each other, right? This is the whole purpose of this.
So, we're like in a really interesting place in this process because business has never been better. Both just in terms of what we're doing right now and just sort of my overall perspective of where it's going. And I am somebody who is incredibly neurotic and incredibly worried about where things are going to go. And I am just so optimistic about both where we are and where we're going. I've never felt just so complete and just positive about where things are. But we're not going to touch that. I've lost 50 pounds. I'm at 51 pounds of weight loss now since the last time we talked. And again, it's not even the thing that we need to talk about, because it is not even the most profound thing that has happened to me since the last time we talked. Whew, this is really intense. So the thing that happened that was there's no language for it other than just grace and being guided, but it was just like such a clear manifestation of my creation. Like I, without question, created that circumstance and that event through my thoughts and through my actions and just through what was going on with my life. And it was just so incredibly powerful just to take a step back and take a step outside of it and be like, whoa, like look at the frequency I was vibrating at and look at what I attracted into my life. There's just no chance that just happens by accident. Like I created that, you know? Absolutely. And I was crying last night when I was home thinking about it, just because I was just like, oh my God, like look at like what I can do. Look at the power that I have. And again, effortless. And it was just so, and I was just taking stock of everything and just like how blessed I feel about all these areas of my life. And then I had this happen and I was just like, holy shit, like look at the power that I have as a human being. And I'm just getting warmed up. I'm just getting warmed up, baby. So like, I just feel like I am just on a whole different plane right now, guys. I really do. it just moved me and inspired me. And again, I'm sitting here and I have all of these amazing things. Like when we first started our coaching, like I wanted to lose weight and like build a successful business, and like I'm achieving all of that and it feels great. And it's just like, we got a lot more, we have much bigger things that we're moving on to, like much bigger things. So yeah, I mean, it's just really incredible. I just wanted to start there and share there, and just the power of thoughts and vibrating at the right frequency and what you bring in, just incredible. I said it before, but I'm just so incredibly grateful that I found you guys. I mean, again, talk about being guided, like, you know, again, now it hits you in the face, but like, I mean, you guys have changed my life in such a powerful way. I mean, in a way that I'll never be able to repay. And I'm so excited to meet you guys in person.
I know.
Big fucking hug and just be like, I love you guys. 'Cause you know, I was in a really not a great place. Like I had like, not a dangerous place, but I just was in a trajectory where I know I just would have been like, you know, the countless people who just sort of drone through life, have anxiety and die. I'm living my life. And I mean, it's because of you guys. I mean, truly. So, I mean, thank you for, you know, just thank you for everything that you've done for me and you continue to do. And, you know, I'm just looking forward to our continued work together. And I feel the ascension. Like the way I see things and talk about things and perceive things is just so different from where I was when we first started working. So, it's beautiful. It's beautiful to be a part of. And honestly, like you guys are a blessing. Like you guys are like divine, like almost divine intervention that was put into my life. I really feel that way. 'Cause I found you through Amazon. Like it was, you know, like it was just like, you know, just a totally random. I was listening to a podcast and that's how I found you. And now it has just totally altered the course of my life. Amazing. So, it's a beautiful thing. Much love to you, brother.
All right. So there are some of you who might be on the fence, and so I'm here to purge you of your fears, or at least help aid in the purge. I'm assuming you are like me and you had reasons why you can't take the course, like you don't have money, you don't have time, it's probably a scam, what if it's bullshit, what if it's not worth it, and you just have to do it. You have to rip the Band-Aid off and do it, because at the end of the day, you want to do it, and you're creating reasons to stop you from doing it. And I can say from my own experience, I remember I was in Cambodia on a visa run, and I got to that point where I just was seeing how afraid I was, and I actually became really present to how afraid I am in life, and how much that fear of failure, of judgment, of being alone, being as great as I see myself as being, and always shying away from that. And so I remember I decided that I was going to commit to something that was different and see what doing something different does for my life. And it significantly changed. One of the things that Guy and Ilan talk about is a 1% shift. And this is something I share with people every single day. And maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but as often as possible, I'm surrounded by people just like you and me. We're surrounded by people who are comfortable, who want change, and are like me. They're afraid to step out of their comfort. They're afraid to do something that will bring them to a point of judgment or persecution or greatness. They're afraid, and so they shrink, and I shrink, and we all have this shrinkage. The 1% shift is something that you don't really realize. You always think you have to do these macro things to change your life, but it's all about doing one tiny little thing. And every moment, in every present moment, when you make one choice, like I did in Cambodia on my visa run, when I made that one choice to say fuck it and just trust that these people, Guy and Ilan, could offer something to me that will allow me to expand. I'm gonna cry, I'm totally gonna cry. And I said fuck it, and I took out my credit card, and I remember I tried to type in the number and my card declined because I had like barely enough. And so I emailed them and I was like, listen, I don't have all the money. Will you allow me to break it up? And they said yes. And so they said yes, and I paid for the course, and I remember instantly having spending anxiety, and I was like, fuck, you're supposed to be saving for a rainy day, and I had all these reasons. And then I just literally like took a deep breath and I relaxed, and I was like, I'm doing something different. I'm seeing where different takes me. And here I am. I'm finishing out an extraordinary year. People notice now that there's a difference to me. There's a strength to me that was present before, but is not afraid to be present now. And I'm not saying that I've reached this point of perfection or anything, but I've definitely grown in that I am not afraid to see myself. I'm not afraid to acknowledge the things that are good and bad about me, and know that I'm literally, there's nothing wrong with me. I had a really bad relationship with my parents, and everything was rooted in anger. And I've been working and committed to things that I would normally shy away from, and just support my lack of attention with anger and blame and guilt and all these other things. And I guess if I were to share one thing, the most valuable thing, aside from the 1% shift, is the fact that once you have the courage to always observe yourself and always be listening to the way in which you're occurring in life, everything really changes. And I do this all the time, every day. I see the way I respond to people. I see that, and I acknowledge that I actually have an impact on people, whether it's a positive or negative impact. And I still have days where I'm rude or a little bit bitchy to somebody, but I now have the balls to apologize, or I now have the balls to correct myself and step into my greatness. And so just take the course, just do it.
The last 30 years, the relationship with my mother was in a sorry state of affairs. And I learned that by taking 100% responsibility for that relationship and asking 5 simple questions, I was able to transform my relationship with my mother within 30 minutes. 30 years of hurt in 30 minutes. And now we have a relationship that is close, loving, and compassionate. What it's given me is a blank canvas to work on. I'm now in a point in my life where I'm just fully able to create whatever life it is that I want to create. That's what Guy and Ilan and Satori Prime have given me throughout this process.
I just can't believe I've made that call. Like, honestly, if you had said to me a month ago or even a couple of weeks ago that I would have been calling my dad and saying what I've said, coming from a place of love and peace, I wouldn't have believed you. I always thought it would be, I thought one day I'll get to it. But I guess that's what I'm here to work on, isn't it? And what I've come here with, Satori Prime, and it's just made my external reality kind of speed things up a little bit, and it's made me really look at what's happening instead of just coasting through it and allowing it to happen to me. It's now happening. I can see how it's all happening for me. It always has, but it's now way more evident to me now that this is the case. And wow, massive step forward, massive release, and just to know that, there was no angst, there was no, I couldn't sense any resentment there. There was just, on his side, there was just pain of loss, of not, having that connection over the last 6 years. And at least I've taken full responsibility for this, and that is massively empowering. Thank you so much.
If I didn't have this Satori family, Satorians as we call ourselves, I believe that I would not be in a very good space to function from. I feel the journey itself has taught me so much, and look, I know what I need to do, but the ego and the inner voice, they get in the way. So that just makes me more determined to push through that and to awaken myself, to be aware of me, to be aware of my surroundings, to show up the way I want to show up, to build better relationships, to just be a better me. And I know this has been what stopped me from being any kind of success in my life in the past. I just want to say thank you very much from the bottom of my heart for everybody, and to Guy and Ilan for creating this space for myself and for everybody else that have gone through any of your programs. Just thank you so much, guys, for the way that you teach, the learning that you bring to the room, to the webinars, to the screen. Yeah, thank you so much.
Oh. All right, guys, if you're still on here, thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time. If you have any questions, you guys know where to find us.